Happy Halloween, everybody. As we're driving through the cemetery in the dark,
trying to find a place to park.
Let me know if you see something. You know how sometimes things appear on camera that you can't see by the naked eye? So please let us know if you see something. It's not like you can warn us. This is the night where the veil is lifted between the living and the dead.
It's time for the Feast of Samhain, or Samhain.
The time for the Feast of Samhain is what they say. So let's come together and have a feast of our own. What do you think? That's a big tombstone.
That's huge.
You know what they say about folklore? You know, they say that they use the tombstones to weigh down the spirits so they can't escape from the grave.
Looks like the entrance to something really evil.
Under the arches into the evil. Welcome to the cemetery. Join us for some fun festivities in the cemetery.
And having our feast, our dumb supper for Samhain.
Dumb supper for Samhain, he says.
That way we can share our meal with our ancestors that are here.
Coming to share our meal with our ancestors. We're going to be asking some Halloween questions, discussing some folklore,
And trying to stay alive.
and trying to stay alive. Okay, everybody, we're going to start out with some Halloween questions. Favorite movie? Horror
Favorite horror movie?
or gore?
Or gore? I guess I like horror better than I do gore. Probably.
What is gore?
Gore is where it's all bloody, nasty.
Like Saw?
Like Saw, where you see intestines and brains and all that kind of stuff. Where horror is this stuff that scares you. There might be blood, but not overabundance of it.
I would say the original Saw.
For gore?
Yeah, gore.
Yeah, for horror, I would say Halloween.
Number 2, name something you wouldn't want to run into in an abandoned building.
My ex-wife. No, for really.
That's been many, many years ago. She's not that bad today, I don't think.
It was just a joke.
Oh, I know it was a joke.
Wouldn't want to run into probably any type of alien. That would scare the crap out of me.
What I wouldn't want to run into in an abandoned building? Probably a debt collector.
Giant rat.
What I wouldn't want to run into, Pootie Doo's barking at the cemetery. He's looking out the window and barking, or growling. I don't know. Somebody with a knife? I don't know. Have you ever played with a Ouija board?
No, I've never played with one before.
No. I've never played with a Ouija board. My brother always told me that if I ever played with a Ouija board, he would disown me. Our family is very superstitious.
I'm not superstitious.
Superstitious?
Right.
The creepiest thing that has ever happened to you when you were alone?
Oh, it has to be when I had the dream when we lived in the old farmhouse.
Talk louder.
We used to live in a farmhouse way out in the country when I was a young teenager, and I used to sleep upstairs. Well, when we bought the house, I told my dad that the man who built the house originally in the 1800s fell down the stairs from the upstairs and died and broke his neck. And then later in years, a baby had crawled and fell in the open well and died. But I fell asleep upstairs. That was my bedroom. And I had this horrible dream this monster was chasing me. I ran down that stairway. I opened the door. I ran through the kitchen. I ran through the hallway by the bathroom. I ran into the back bedroom, and I kicked the screen window out. And I was jumping out of the screen window to get away from this monster. And at that point, I woke up, and I was still upstairs, and I was dangling out the upstairs window because I kicked the screen out of it and holding on to the thing. I was like 1 inch away from falling on an air conditioner 20 feet below.
That's scary.
So that's, yeah. Plus, when I moved, after that, I moved to the lower basement, or lower bedroom, and I was laying in bed one night. You remember those old touchscreen TVs? You just touched them and they come on and off like a lamp? I was laying there, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was really sleepy, and I had to get up and reach to turn the TV off, and I wished that the TV would just go off by itself and the lamp. And I laid there for a moment, and the TV and the lamp went off. But I know the electricity didn't go off because I still see the light in the hallway by the bathroom. So I laid there for a moment just sweating cold bullets out, and then the TV popped back on and the light popped back on at the same time. After that, I believe there was something in that house.
I think for me it was when I was about 18. I was still living at home, and it was late at night, and I was taking a shower because I was going to go out with some friends. And we had a full-length mirror in our bathroom. And all it kept going through my head at the time was the movie Psycho.
Ugh.
And I used to always pull the shower curtain back and peek what was on the other side. And I so happened to pull the shower curtain back, and everything on that full-length mirror was steamed up except for the shape of a skeleton.
Oh.
I screamed, I ran naked out of the bathroom and into my parents' room, screaming bloody hell. That was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me when I was alone.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Are you superstitious?
Nah, I'm not superstitious, knock on wood.
My mother was Cherokee Indian. I'm very superstitious. She used to always tell us no singing at the supper table, no pet birds in the house. If a wild bird flew into the house, that means somebody in the family was going to die. No rocking a rocking chair with no one in it, because that was going to awaken the spirits. So yes, I'm very superstitious. What is your favorite Halloween movie?
Mine would be probably Halloween or Halloween 2 or Phantasm.
I think my favorite Halloween movie is probably Carrie.
Carrie's pretty good.
Carrie is my favorite Halloween movie. What was your first Halloween costume that you remember?
Where we lived, there was a local guy that was on TV, and his name was Sammy Terry. And I remember dressing up as Sammy Terry when I was a kid, except my brother-in-law gave me these big platform disco shoes, so I stood up a lot taller. People thought I was an adult.
Yeah. My favorite Halloween costume as a kid was a bag lady. I remember I had an old nasty skirt that we had found at Goodwill. I had my dad's big boots on. I had a hat that I had got plastic flowers and glued the plastic flowers to the top of the hat sticking out. I had striped knee-high socks, and I blackened my front teeth out.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Are you the one that's scaring, or are you the one that gets scared?
I like doing the scaring.
He's good at that too. I like to be the one that gets scared.
I like rigging stuff up. I love haunted houses though, so I guess I like being scared too.
Yeah. In your opinion, What is the most gruesome way to die? The most brutal way to die.
You got me on that one. I'd have to think about that for a little bit. What's your answer?
I think for me, the most brutal way to die would be to be stabbed to death with an ice pick. To me, that's pretty brutal.
I think mine would be the worst, is if your body could still feel everything, but you couldn't make any noise. Your mind had disconnected from your body, but you had to lay there and feel everything that happened as you're dying. That would be mine.
And I don't know how many of you talk about folklore, but what I was saying earlier was actually true. The old folklore is, if you put a headstone on a grave, it's used to weigh down the dead so that they can't come up out of the grave. Oh, that scared the shit out of me. It's
right.
Absolutely pitch black and food is barking. I don't know what he sees. Sorry about the noise, guys.
Food.
Another folklore is headlights to a cemetery. You always see a funeral procession that has the headlights on. They say that it stems back from years and years ago when they would take the dead to the cemetery. A lot of times they did it in the dark, but they also say that the lights are used to ward off the evil spirits. Hence the reason why they still use the headlights today, because they want to ward off the evil spirits as they're taking their loved ones to the grave. They also say that you don't want to drive home the same route that you drove to the cemetery if you're in a procession. They say you want to drive a totally different direction, because if you drive the same direction, that the dead will follow you to your home. That's just a little of the folklore that we've heard over time. So,
and Halloween always goes back to the Celts and the Druids about the Feast of Samhain, the change between autumn and winter, blessing the gods they believed in back then of the good harvest and the feast, and having a short winter and everything being good for them. That's how Halloween got started.
And speaking of feast, I think it's time that we feast with our ancestors.
Have our mukbang.
As we're sitting in the cemetery, let's have a cemetery mukbang. What do you say? Okay, guys. Sorry to disappoint, but we ended up coming home. We'd had our two big dogs with us, as well as Pootie Doo. And Pootie Doo just kept barking and barking. And then the bigger dogs, they started barking and they started growling. And we couldn't see a thing. But it was making the hair stand up on my husband's arms and the back of his neck. So we decided it's probably better just to leave and go ahead and come home, which is what we did. So, we just didn't want something coming to get us. Ah! Welcome back, everybody. We're ready to have our mukbang now. A mukbang in the dark.
We got all our Chinese food for our dumb meal with our ancestors. We were going to do it in the cemetery like my wife said, but the hair started standing up on the back of my neck, and I took my very powerful flashlight and shined it around, and I couldn't see anything.
We've got dumplings.
We've got crab sticks. We got egg rolls.
Egg rolls.
We got, let me get my chopsticks here.
We've got fried or crispy chicken, chicken lo mein, and fried rice.
Lo mein. Worms for Halloween.
Ooh, worms for Halloween.
I'm already my favorite. Like she said, the dumplings. I love dipping them in the sauce.
So let's dig in, shall we?
So good. Crab stick. Like I said, we really were going to eat over there, but not when the dogs are going off. Our big dog, she's like 85, 90 pounds. And she's been around for a little while. And when she starts growling and going on and you don't see anything,
Dumpling.
something's wrong. It scared the pee out of me, so I decided it was time to move on.
They're a little hard.
The dumplings are a little hard.
Mm-hmm.
Sure you didn't grab the wonton I gave you by mistake?
Been sitting a while.
I think you grabbed the wonton I put in there, so it would be hard and crunchy.
No wonder it's hard.
What happens when you eat in the dark? Egg roll. It took us about a half an hour from where we live to go into town and get the Chinese food, but the place we have, they make excellent food at a reasonable price, I gotta say. The next biggest town we go to, there's several, and they all have good Chinese food, but you also pay out the yin-yang for it, no pun intended. And the place that's local, the smaller town that's closer to us, their prices are a lot more reasonable. Usually, with COVID going on, you just have to order stuff ahead. Usually I go get in and get the buffet, and their buffet is less than $10 a person, and you can take as much as you want. There's no limit, whatever you can get in the box. Most places do it by weight, and they don't. So when we're not on a diet, I usually go and fill up 2 of their big styrofoam containers, plus they give you 2 soup containers too, because I love their hot and sour soup. Trouble, honey?
Mm-hmm.
You need a fork?
No. No.
I don't know how many people have crispy chicken. The ones in the bigger town, they don't have this. This is something that we discovered at our local place. It's called crispy chicken. It's just small little pieces of white meat chicken that's been lightly breaded and deep fried. And they put some kind of a really sweet honey type sauce on it. It's really good. Man.
Won't you come and play with me? What?
We decided later on we're going to do the Halloween marathon. We got Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 and Halloween H2O and then the 2018 version of Halloween. Because we saw it at the drive-in theater. I bought a copy of it. Man, it's good food.
I don't know how you guys all do it. It's weird eating on camera. I don't want people to see me chew.
Not about me any. They can see me chew and they can see me drink. A couple of nights ago we watched Nightmare on Elm Street. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, lock the door. 5, 6, get a crucifix. I love them old 80s, 90s movies. Remember The Lost Boys? That movie, The Lost Boys? Remember the noodles turned into worms and the rice turned into maggots as he started eating it?
Worms, yummy.
That's a good one. I have it too.
Egg roll time.
I used to work nights, so I would buy a lot of movies from the pawn shops so I could have something to watch when I got home from work. And I got in a deal with one of the guys at the pawn shop, and he started selling me movies for $5 for $1, then $6 for $1, then $7 for $1. So I have 1,000 VHS tapes besides all my DVDs. Good food, isn't it?
You're doing really good. I can't eat on camera.
Just eating. Look, I've been on a diet for 2 weeks. I've lost almost 20 pounds. This is the first real food I've had, so
He's done great. Except for he only had like 2 dumplings the other day, even though he wanted more. He's done really well.
So this is one meal I'm having, then I got to jump back on it and not eat anything real again until Thanksgiving. Not that I don't like food. Like last night I had steak. I had like a, 14, 16 ounce steak. I do it myself. And then I had a small helping of the low carb pasta with sauce. And that 1 carb bread, I made a couple pieces of garlic bread for both of us. It was really good.
So I have a feeling you're probably going to see the hubby in a lot more mukbangs or mukbangs or whatever you call it.
No, if you're not going to do them.
It's just camera shyness. Whatever you want to call it. So, anything else you want to say?
No. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, guys. I think we're going to end it here. One of these days, I'll get over my camera shyness.
There might be another little video, too. I got the front of our house. We're going to call it Trick-or-Treating at Pootie Doo's Horror House. If she gets it put on there, you can see what at the front of her house is decorated, like just a little bit. Like I said, we live way out in the boonies, and we don't get very many kids, so.
We did have some tonight, a few.
We had just a few.
Say good night, honey.
Good night. Sweet dreams.